Hello, English students. Welcome to your English class number 12. You are in the advanced level. Let's go. Open your PowerPoints and go straight to slide number 2, where we're gonna see some new idioms. Yes, idioms, again, we can get enough of them, right? They're so cool. So today we have 3 new ones. First one is call it a day, which means stop working on something. Example, it's too late, let's call it a day. Next one is beat around the bush. Avoid saying something because it's something uncomfortable. Example, don't beat around the bush and tell me honestly what you think. The last one is bite the bullet, which means to get something over with because it's inevitable, or to face the situation. Example, we need to bite the bullet and face our fears. Alright, so these are the 3 new idioms. And let's move on to the text of the day. So we have a kind of a big text about one of the most tragic events in history of United States, which is September 11th, and it's also mentioned as 9/11. So let's see some information about what happened that day. September 11th were a series of 4 coordinated terrorist attacks by the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda against the United States on the morning of Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. The attacks resulted in 2,823 fatalities, over 6,000 injuries, and substantial long-term health consequences, in addition to at least $10 billion in infrastructure and property damage. 9/11 is the deadliest terrorist attack in human history. 343 firefighters and 23 police officers were killed during this attack. 19 militants associated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 airplanes and carried out suicide attacks against targets in the United States. 2 of the planes were flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. A 3rd plane hit the Pentagon, just outside Washington, D.C., and the 4th plane crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Alright, so slide number 4. World Trade Center. On September 11th, 2001, at 8:45 a.m., on a clear Tuesday morning, an American Airlines Boeing 767 loaded with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York. The impact left burning hole near the 80th floor of the 110th story skyscraper, instantly killing hundreds of people and trapping hundreds more in higher floors. As the evacuation of the tower and its twin got underway, television cameras broadcast live images of what initially appeared to be a freak accident. Then 18 minutes after the first plane hit, a second Boeing 767 United Airlines flight 175 appeared out of the sky, turned sharply toward the World Trade Center, and sliced into the South Tower near the 60th floor. It immediately became clear that America was under attack. Few minutes later, the horror in New York took a catastrophic turn when the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed in a massive cloud of dust and smoke. The structural steel of the skyscraper, built to withstand winds in excess of 200 miles per hour, and the large conventional fire, could not withstand the tremendous heat generated by the burning jet fuel. At 10:30 a.m., the north building of the Twin Towers collapsed. Only 6 people in the World Trade Center towers at the time of their collapse survived. Almost 10,000 others treated for injuries, many severe. That was the tragic end of this spectacular art of engineering. The 2 identical 110-story Twin Towers of the World Trade Center officially opened in 1973 to become New York City icon and key element of Manhattan's famous skyline. The Twin Towers together had almost 500 businesses. Today you can visit the World Trade Center sites, the 9/11 Memorial Museum and the Memorial to learn more about the attacks and for personal contemplation, and also to admire the newly built One World Trade Center, which opened in 2014. That wasn't the first attack to the World Trade Center. In 1993, a group of terrorists left a van loaded with explosives in an underground parking garage of the North Tower. The resulting explosion killed 6 and wounded more than 1,000, but caused no major damage to the World Trade Center. Sadly, the terrorist attack of September 11, 2001 caused much greater destruction. Pentagon attack. Millions watched the events unfolding in New York. As millions watched the events unfolding in New York, American Airlines Flight 77 circled over downtown Washington, D.C. before crashing into the west side of Pentagon, the Defense Department headquarters, at 9:45 a.m. 125 military personnel and civilians were killed in the Pentagon, along with 64 aboard the airline. Flight 93. Meanwhile, a plane, the United Flight 93, was hijacked about 40 minutes after leaving Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey. Because the plane had been delayed in taking off, passengers on board learned of the events in New York and Washington via cell phone and airphone calls to the ground. Knowing that the aircraft was not returning to an airport as the hijackers claimed, a group of passengers and flight attendants planned an intervention. The passengers fought the 4 hijackers and are suspected to have attacked the cockpit with a fire extinguisher. The plane then flipped over and sped toward the ground at upwards of 500 miles per hour, crashing in a rural field near Shanksville in western Pennsylvania at 10:10 a.m. All 44 people aboard were killed. Its intended target is not known, but theories include the White House and U.S. Capitol. The tragedy in numbers. 2,823 people died. 1,402 people died at the Tower 1. 614 died at Tower 2. 658 died at Cantor Fitzgerald Company Building. 343 victims were from the rescue teams, firefighters, and physicians. 23 were police officers, and 37 were guards. Continuing, over 6,000 people injured. For women who died, 3 men died in the attack. Most of the victims were between 35 and 39 years old. 9% of the victims were Latin Americans. The victims were from 70 different nationalities. 50,000 people worked at the World Trade Center. The Americans usually remember this day with the quote, "We'll never forget." Alright, so I sent you 2 links for videos about this event. First video, it's just a normal news on CBS, the channel CBS, with some white witnesses for what happened, people that were there and saw from a further distance, but they saw what happened at the time. And the other video is like a show, so showing some things that happen in a timeline, and they have some footage, like real footage, and some real recording of voices from people who were in the airplane, and also one of the hijackers. Okay, so it might be a little disturbing, so be prepared. This is a very sad history, but it's a very important part of the history, so I think everybody should know what happened that day. Okay, so that's it for this class. If you have any questions, let me know. We're gonna talk about it in class, and I see you. Bye bye.